All right, then here we go. Welcome to Mainline Executive Coaching ACT. I am here today with my partner, Rich Barron. I'm Michael Bailey. Mainline Executive Coaching ACT, and Cultural Transformation. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? Just snap your fingers and it's all changed magically.
Yeah, it's just act. It's three letters. No biggie.
It's so simple, but it's not. If you've ever done it, it's like, ugh. Okay. So, and also we are mainline leaders. Here's what we're going to be doing today. We are going to be talking about why executive coaching. Boy, we don't really like that particular term. If you want another term, we're not really crazy about executive coaching. What we really are is what we call quantum leadership development. Very different spin on the whole thing. May sound similar, but it is actually very, very, very different. And we're going to be looking at that, and we're going to be talking about what it is that we do. And here's the take on it. We will tell you things that they won't tell you, meaning the people at work, your boss, the people you supervise, even your family and friends. They won't tell you these things, and we will tell you. It's the tough things, the difficult things, but it's also the things that they may not see, that they just may not get. So let's start there. We're going to tell you things that other people won't. So, Rich, let's start. What's your take on what we got going on here today?
Honesty, being honest. And I don't want to use the term brutally honest because I think being brutally honest and honest are two different terms. It's being honest takes respect, takes finesse, takes skill, takes talent, and understanding how to have those difficult conversations. Let's face it, when we talk about executive coaching, now just that term executive coaching, you're dealing with a different breed of people. And typically these are type A personality individuals. They've amassed power, they enjoy privilege, they've demanded respect, they've built a career on managing others, they've got a long ways up that ladder. And having those I shouldn't say brutal, though, having those honest conversations is what we're talking about, the ability to do that. And it's both ways. So tell me, Michael, you've talked a lot about this. Why is it both ways? Why is it difficult as a leader to accept that honesty?
Here's one of the things that's really interesting and fun working with leaders. Some leaders, as you start to get to know them, you're getting into that coaching saddle, or the preferably of saying it, leadership development saddle. What they want to do is they want to give you assignments. They want to give you, the person that's helping them develop their leadership, they want to give you assignments. Why do they do that? It's very curious. The first time I heard something, would you go look this up for me? Would you send me some?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't do that. You are the one who does that. And so it was just they're used to making assignments. They're used to delegating. And that's not how this works. This is a very different kind of relationship. One of the things I know about this is one of the things that helps us get to know you as a leader is not only our background. We've worked with a lot of people, a lot of different leaders, people in leadership positions and all that stuff. So this isn't, like they say, this isn't our first rodeo by any means. That's one of the things, that because we've been down the road a lot. The other thing is this, that we have assessments. So it's not just our opinion. We're not just kind of intuiting this or observing. We have assessments, and from those assessments, we get a pretty good read on who an individual is and how they're going to, which ways they're going to play in terms of strengths or where they're going to fall apart. So that helps us a whole lot. So one of the things that I've noticed, Rich, is this, that when that leader or that person in that leadership position really gets a couple of things. One, that you understand them, that you really understand them.
Yes.
After you unpack one of these surveys that we have people do, and they give you this kind of a comment, wow, you really do know me, don't you? Or, have you been talking to my wife? Or another one is, have you been looking in my window at home?
Yes.
Because they can be so accurate and they can be so, man, just right on. And so that takes them a little bit by surprise. So One, you understand them, truly understand them. Secondly, you're not there to judge them.
No.
You're not there to say, okay, this is, blah, blah, blah. That you are actually just accepting them for who they are, straight on. Greats, not so greats, things that they trip themselves up on, all that kind of stuff. You're just there and you're accepting them where they are and who they are with this commitment to help them go forward. Once they get that you, and so you care. In other words, you care. You understand them, not going to judge them, and you care. Everything changes because at that moment they realize I don't know anybody in my life who really knows me, who doesn't want to judge me or put me down or put me in some sort of position, and somebody who genuinely cares about me. When you set those three up, a very interesting thing happens, and that's this: they listen. All the defenses start lowering, they start dropping away, and they just listen. These people who are in these positions tend to be very bright, tend to be very talented, very experienced. They didn't get there. I want to say they didn't get there by luck. Some did. Some got there kind of by luck, that whatever it is. But the ones that have earned their way up the ladder, they earned their way up the ladder. So they've got some real experience, not only in terms of being a leader, but also life experiences.
Right.
So when you're talking to them in an honest, candid way, up front, telling them the blatant truth about this, about that, they've heard it before. They've had their feathers ruffled. They've fallen out of the saddle a number of times. They've got a few bumps and scuffs along the way. So as long as you're being, that kind of a person to help them, they're pretty cool about it. Genuinely, they're pretty cool about it.
Well, and here's the thing, Michael. We're not sitting down with a bunch of tarot cards and a crystal ball and telling them, all about themselves. These are come from a series of assessments that really complement each other and are very accurate. They, one after another, are really going to build on the previous assessment to, prove that what you did before, and the next assessment, and then that 360 assessment that's coming from your stakeholders,
right?
And they're putting in this information anonymously. We're simply helping you understand the information that's coming to you. Now, at that point, that those are difficult to, there's some things that are going to come out of those that may be difficult to understand, difficult to swallow, a bruise to your pride and ego. But
we had one of those, remember, not too long ago.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
This guy had really high scores. He had amazingly high scores. Taking a look at it and said, I think there is an area that he has a tough time with.
Yeah.
I think he does. There's this, there's, as we looked at the assessment, there's an area that he has a tough time with. And he was one of those guys, I think maybe we talked a little bit about this particular fellow, that, he had this kind of sense of, I wouldn't say entitlement, but it's kind of a sense of I'm owed, because he'd done a lot of stuff and he'd worked really hard and he'd helped out a lot of people, but he never quite got to the point of really moving up the ladder.
Right.
And so he was kind of touchy about that whole area. And as we started laying that out for him to see, this is what you got, all these great strengths, great stuff going on here. This is one of those places where you sabotage yourself and you probably don't even know it. You don't even realize it. Maybe it was more like a derailer than a sabotage. It's a derailer, another way of saying that.
Right.
And he had a tough time. There was a moment.
He did. It was like someone flipped the switch at one point.
Yeah, and so
literally
backing it off and say, well, let's take a look at it another way, and then helping him move into that place of him finally saying, yeah, that is true. That has happened to me. That is exactly what happened to me. And see, that's one of the things that I think we can talk about here in this, is that there are some people that you work with, they don't want to tell you your strengths. They know you have these strengths, but they don't want to tell you because they don't want to give you any kind of edge. There are those people that can see your weaknesses or your derailers, those gaps, and they may not want to say it because they don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't want you to feel bad, right? And so you got these two things that are going on. You got the stuff that's great about you, the stuff that's not so great about you. People are hesitant to talk to you about.
Yeah.
And so you kind of put them in a corner of damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Yeah. That's an interesting point right there, Michael. We've talked about this in the past. The difference between internal coaching, internal leadership developers versus external. Those internal, and there's don't get me wrong, because we know a lot of very, very good um, coaches that are internal coaches, actually work for the company they're developing. But that's just where the problem lies. They work for these people. Their employees are on the payroll. And it's going to be awfully difficult to be, honest and have those type of real conversations based on these assessments with your boss, or someone that's above him even. Whereas being an external coach, you don't have a dog in the race. You don't have it's not a dog and pony show at that point. It is simply about, we want to help you succeed. And that's where I think initially, when before you even get going, you have this meeting that you really set down these rules of engagement. This is what it's going to be. Are you ready?
You know what this reminds me of? This just occurred to me. Yeah. Remember the movie City Slickers?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
This is what it reminds me of. You got these guys. They're in their own little group right here, and they're figuring out things about their wives and their girlfriends and all that stuff. They're kind of that closed group of figuring stuff out. Then there's the guy who runs the ranch, and he just wants to make sure everybody's happy, right? That's kind of like that internal coach in some ways. Want to make sure everybody's happy, but there's still the groups that are figuring out what's going on. Yeah. And then there's Curly.
Yeah.
The guy who's going to just tell you what it is. And really take a look at it. There's a certain amount of, he's pushing the guys. He's pushing their buttons, because he kind of enjoys pushing their buttons.
Right.
But when you take a look at what he was really doing, he actually cared. He was actually watching them. He actually understood them better than they understood themselves. And certainly the guy who ran the ranch, he didn't have any interest in understanding them. He just wanted to, and I'm not about executive coaches that are internal, but there's somebody that they're more about interested in the organization of everything working really well, rather than you, the individual. And Curly just had that way of honing in on people and just saying things to them, kind of got their dander up or made them go do things that they were really scared to do. They didn't really want to do, but they did it anyway. But in the end, he had some messages, that were really important that they needed to hear. He was that tough guy. In some way, didn't care about hurting their feelings, but he didn't mean to hurt their feelings either. He was just going to tell it to them straight.
Right. Yeah. Part of that too, is telling them where they do well. You got some great strengths here.
Sure.
Let's build on those.
Absolutely. Got to build on them. That's exactly right. That's exactly.
Here's one of the things too. We talk to people all the time who really like Stephen Covey, the 7 Habits, of highly effective people. And one of the things that he talks about in there is sharpening the saw, continual education, continually improving yourself. We all have room for improvement. We all learn and can learn continuously. It doesn't reach a point where we're tapped out in our knowledge or our skills or our abilities to work within our organization or work with the people, and help develop them. How can I help develop the people around me? That's really what a leader is. A leader is there's a certain responsibility and privilege to being a leader, because you hold a lot of people's careers in your hands. You really do. You really do. And so how are you going to help them build? Do you know it all? Or, someone's just going to walk up to you and say, I need this, and it's going to pop out of some memory somewhere, and you're going to, be able to give them that? Well, no, it's not. It's continuous improvement, continually improving yourself. And that just doesn't mean for your organization. If you can continually improve yourself, then your organization is going to continually improve.
And you can't help other people learn how to swim when you're drowning.
Oh, no.
That's a big notion. Working with this one fellow who's just been drowning for a long time, and just working and get him on top of the water. Get on top of the water. Here's what you're doing to blow it off. Here's what you're doing. You're not kidding. Let's just take a look at been some very tough conversations that
Yeah.
we've had, over a period of time. Interesting though, those little incremental changes, that's where this whole thing we talk about quantum leadership development, we take a little piece wherever you are, we're going to start developing that out for you. Then this idea of Bayesian statistics, we don't change overnight, we change
Yeah.
gradually, a little bit at a time. That's what we're doing here by falling and, getting up again and going and doing it again and again. That's what we're really doing here. That after a while, he actually turned this corner. It's an amazing thing that happens. Some point you just pop above the line. You're no longer underwater. You pop above the line. Now his interest really is, and he said, "Oh, I just want to help make people develop them." Now he's actually in a place where he can help them develop,
Yeah.
help them grow in the positions, help them grow in terms of their career development. But if you're below the line and you're drowning and you're already overwhelmed, you cannot help anybody until you first help yourself. And
No,
that's another place.
exactly.
That's where we can help you get above the line, get above the drowning.
I gotta, and a lot of it is seeing that potential. Even if you're having a hard time, is seeing that potential. And I got a great example for this. My boy is quite the baseball player. Now he's a pitcher. He's doing well. He's been in talks with some different universities and colleges and their baseball programs about playing for him. He's a senior this year, and so he was invited to go to this prospect camp. We've been to several of these and talked to several coaches, but this one was held last Saturday in Park City, Utah. Okay. There was the representatives from 5 different universities that came. He was invited to be there to have these coaches look at him. And it was cold. Oh my gosh, it was cold. They were up there in the morning. It was raining. It was, 41 degrees, I think, and it got even colder than that. Grass was wet. The pitching mounds were wet, and the bullpen, where they were doing this, it was mud. And here's the thing. I got to tell you, not one of those kids was on their best game that day. Not one of them. And the coaches knew that. They knew there's no way you're going to see top performance out of these kids. The one thing they looking for, and I was standing just on the other side of the fence when my boy was throwing, and he does very well, and he did great that day, but he kept saying, "I'm sliding," and he would kind of say to the side of me, "I can't, I'm sliding." When he lifted his feet up to pitch and drive toward the mound, there'd be an inch of mud on the bottom of his cleats, and the ball was wet. Not one of these kids could do what they normally do. And some of them were very discouraged. But it was the ones who had been through these camps before and understood that the coaches aren't looking for your performance that day. Although that's part of it. Yeah, they're recording some of the things you do, but they're looking for how you carry yourself, how you interact with the other kids around you. How, when you're warming up, are you, do you work as a team? Do you get along with the people? How do you carry yourself? Do you, in such a situation? And all those coaches knew it. They were freezing just like you were. All these guys out there were wrapped up in, blankets coming from, warm environments. I'm sure they thought they'd, come to the depths of hell, because it was cold. It was hard. It was not baseball weather at all. And, a lot of these kids really held themselves well. Now, some of these kids are, they're outstanding baseball players. They've made a name for themselves already to be invited to some of these camps. And they want to see your next. And, this today, I was talking to my son on the way home. They're not looking at your best performance today. They know they didn't get it from you. They know there's no way in the world they were going to get that from you. They were watching how you carried yourself. They were seeing, looking at you as a person. What's your potential? Is this kid, come out here? Is he whining about the weather? Is he, complaining about the situation? Or is he, with some of these other kids that he may not know, or some of them he knows from playing each other, and how they get along together, and how you carry yourself, and how you talk to the coaches, everything that all goes into this. They're looking for a kid who can be in their program that's going to be a team player for them, that they can develop as a team player. Same thing with what we do. We're not coming in. We know if you're having a hard time that you're not going to be on your best game, or other, we see the potentials. We're looking for the potential. And that's what these assessments do. Everybody thinks, well, my past performance really speaks for itself. No, it doesn't. Your past performance is an obituary, what you did in the past. That simply is. I mean, that's just like a resume. It tells me what you did in the past. It doesn't matter. That got you here, but it's not going to get you to the next level. Who you are now as an individual and the potential you have now to turn who you are into future performance, like you talked about. How do you get there? It's by being honest with you. Not one of those coaches up there, we're going to sugarcoat anything that was going on that day, because they were miserable as well. They're not going to, give some kid who's up there, whining about the weather and stuff, a big hug and say, here's a cup of hot chocolate. It doesn't work that way. You got to dig deep. And they were looking for the ones that dig deep, can dig down and find who they are. That's who you need to be as a leader.
Character,
absolutely. I got to tell you, I was really proud of my boy. He did well. He dug in, and he's done these enough to know what they're looking for. Same with some of his buddies who were there. They've done this enough to know what they're looking for, and they just hold themselves the highest possible standards under the circumstances and go for it.
Great stuff for young men. Great stuff for anyone who wants to be a leader. That's right. And we can help you. We can help you. All right, let's wrap it up here. What do you have to say to folks as we sign off here, Rich?
We have some new people who are been watching our podcast and downloading our episodes in Finland. So I just want to shout out to you guys. Yeah, we watch close where our things are getting downloaded, and we appreciate your support. Appreciate any comments you have. And thank you very much. And I hope you keep hanging in there and download more of our episodes. So once again, come to the end of this. And Maikel, you mentioned earlier you had something you wanted to say.
I did?
I think so.
What did I want to say?
About...
Oh, yes. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, the whole thing here about this. People oftentimes, they're just not going to tell you what it is that you need to hear. And it's part of it is that they won't. They don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't know how to say it. They don't want to help you out, whatever it is. But the other part of that is this. They can't. They can't tell you. They don't know what they're seeing exactly. They don't understand exactly what's going on with you as a leader and your potential and the development of your leadership capabilities. They don't know what it is. They don't have the skills. They don't have the background. They don't have that experience. So we will not only tell you because we can see it and we understand it, but we have that ability to bring that out of you in a way that few other people actually can. True. I mean, you may have a great spouse that can say, this is what you're doing. And this, especially guys, if you're a smart guy, you'll listen to your wife. She'll tell you a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And listen and do. Don't just listen.
Yeah. And then same thing, gals, I've got a client that her husband is very honest with her, very kind, very loving, but very honest. The problem with that, they can tell you those things as a spouse. It's different though when you're working with somebody who's really helping you develop your leadership and helping you take that movement, grow that. It's a completely different experience. So we will tell you because we know what it is, and we will tell you, and because we also can. We can be there. We can help you.
All right. Thanks again. We appreciate you being here today, and thanks again for all your support, and look for us again coming here real quick. Once again, from Mainline Executive Coaching ACT, I'm Rich Barron, partner Maikel Bailey. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you again soon.
All the best to you, folks.